Just into the newsroom, a man is dead after a shooting in the Jacobs neighborhood. The shooting happened after 8 tonight near Parthenia Avenue. Louisville Metro Police say they found a man outside suffering from a gunshot wound. He died at the scene. LMPD is asking for anyone with information to call the anonymous tip line at 574-LMPD. In Nuisance 6, a jury gave Isaiah Page an enhanced sentence for using a gun and coordinating with a gang in the Harvest Homecoming shooting in October of 2024 that killed Bryce Gerlach. Thanks for joining us here on the Night Team. I'm Alex Dieterer, in for Doug tonight. Gerlach was an innocent bystander in his last year of high school, and his convicted murderer was found guilty on 4 charges. All counts. The jury unanimously convicted Page of murder, attempted aggravated battery, and criminal recklessness. Our Ian Hardwitt and photojournalist Levi Hammer spoke with the attorneys who argued their cases.
When our people are having fun with their families and friends, I want them to know they're safe. So this has been a long road, but we're very thankful we're at the end of it.
State Prosecutor Chris Lane shook hands with Bryce Gerlach's family after securing the guilty plea for the high school football star's murder. On October 12, 2024, a stray bullet from a gang shootout ended Gerlach's life. He was celebrating his anniversary with his girlfriend. He never got the chance to graduate high school. His hometown of Corydon, Indiana, lit the quiet streets with candles in mourning. A jury found Isaiah Page guilty of shooting him.
There were bullets flying everywhere. It was absolutely chaotic and chaos going on in that area.
Public Defender Dustin White led Page's defense. His case insisted New Albany police detectives did not account for additional shooters. But prosecutors say Page went to Harvest Homecoming with the intent of killing rival gang members. Police went through Page's phone, finding a note saying Page was, quote, trying to catch me a Vic, short for victim. The jury enhanced Page's sentence for his gang involvement. Prosecutors argued Page acted in the interest of gaining street credibility.
What I always say is there's nothing I can do to take away anybody's pain, and that's just the truth of it. And anyone that has kids, you understand there's nothing we can do or say that will take away that.
With a heavy heart, Lane said the road has ended. One nobody should ever have to walk down. In New Albany, Ian Hardwitt for the WHAS11 Night Team, on your side.
The judge will ultimately decide Page's sentence, and that's set for April 30th at 9 in the morning. Well, we are taking a look now of downtown Louisville. We're sitting at about 40 degrees right here on our Friday evening. A lot less windy than it was earlier today. I don't see that camera shaking as much as it was earlier. But Austin, moving into this weekend, it's going to cool down quite a bit.
Yeah, we have cooled down quite a bit from 24 hours ago. As stated, though, earlier, our high for the day that is going into the records was recorded at 1:55 this morning. So after the storms moved through, we were able to warm up again here in Louisville. It's one of those weird things that happens sometimes, but it's cooler across Kentuckiana. Not so much breezy anymore, but that's the way it's been all day today. And then we got cooler days through Monday ahead and a wintry mix possible both days of this weekend. But look at all the pretty lights from our First Savings Bank Jeffersonville camera, but our U of L Health camera network. We just showed this, but I wanted to show it again. And we have temperatures right at that 40-degree mark pretty much across the metro. PRP down to 37 degrees, Valley Station as well. 32 in Bedford, 36 in Seymour, Madison as well. 33 in Scottsburg, warmer in the southern zones of Kentuckiana at this time. We're seeing increased cloud cover or increasing cloud cover. That was expected tonight as well. Here's tomorrow's at a glance, and you can see on the planner there, temperature struggling to reach 50. We'll see if it ends up happening. Details on your weekend in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Austin. It was a cornerstone of President Trump's economic agenda, but today the Supreme Court ruled most of his sweeping tariffs are illegal. Here's the president reacting to the court's 6-3 decision.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing.
These tariffs have affected Kentucky's bourbon industry, especially when it comes to the trade war between the United States and Canada. Video here shows Canadian stores taking Kentucky bourbon off of their shelves. But as WHAS11 Night Team's Clarice Shaley found, a local bourbon company is optimistic with the ruling.
on Louisville's Whiskey Row.
It's all good news.
Especially when it comes to bourbon. The United States Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to strike down tariffs imposed by President Trump last year.
And I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country.
The court ruled Trump's imposing of tariffs under an emergency powers law is unconstitutional, saying the taxation power is reserved for Congress.
This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security.
I think this is going to be a big win for bourbon. We've been talking about it for years of how tariffs are just never going to help the industry. In fact, it hurts us all the way down to the core.
Kenny Coleman, co-founder and chief operating officer of Pursuit Spirits, says tariffs have hit the company, even down to the smallest cap.
Every piece of cork in the world comes from Portugal, and we got hit with tariffs just being able to bring in cork. So even for raw goods, it hurts.
Even as cocktails are sold and bottles purchased, there's uncertainty of what the future will hold with these changes.
The news is still very recent, and we'll see how relevant it can be. You know how government's going to be, and they're going to be fighting tooth and nail to try to figure out what side is going to win at the end of the day.
President Trump plans to impose a new global 10% tariff under a law that has a 150-day restriction and has never been used to apply tariffs before. But even with the tariffs, Coleman says tourism remains strong on Whiskey Row. In Louisville, Clarice Shaley, WHAS11 Night Team on your side.
The Kentucky Distillers Association echoes Pursuit Spirits, telling us in part, quote, Kentucky bourbon is a shining example of how American industry can build economies, create jobs, and showcase our best across the globe. Our historic and homegrown industry is better positioned to do that when there is stability in the marketplace, free from uncertainty over tariffs, end quote. In the meantime, Republican U.S. Senate candidate Nate Morris is siding with President Trump after the ruling. He sat down with our Isaiah Kim Martinez after a private fundraiser at the Penn Dennis Club.
I'm confident we're going to find another way to make sure the tariffs continue to take shape, get codified.
Right now, a number of U.S. companies have announced they are rising prices once again, according to the Wall Street Journal, citing pressure from Trump's tariffs. Governor Andy Beshear responded to the Supreme Court's ruling on X earlier this morning, saying in part, quote, tariffs are bad for Americans and our economy, and the president does not have the authority to impose them. It's time to roll the harmful tariffs back and stop costs from continuing to rise.
We all have the same common goal, and that's to serve our community, to provide safety for our communities regardless, and we're all hurting.
An Indiana courtroom full of police officers wanting justice during a man's initial hearing this morning. One of their fellow Beech Grove police officers was killed by a man in the line of duty on Monday. A story we broke to you earlier this week right here on the Night Team. Kenneth Johnson, the man who killed Officer Brian Elliott, has been formally charged with murder today. Court documents reveal officers heard reports of a woman screaming inside Johnson's apartment. When Elliott and other officers arrived, they heard the screams themselves and kicked in the door. Johnson started shooting, leading to 2 officers being taken to the hospital. That's where Officer Elliott died. The other officer is expected to survive. Johnson then jumped from a 3rd-floor balcony and ran, sparking an hour-long manhunt. Officers found him later in a different apartment building's laundry room, allegedly with the gun. After his arrest, court documents show Johnson told officers, quote, I was the only one on scene. Y'all know it was me, end quote. Today, officers confirmed Elliott's handcuffs were on Johnson in the courtroom.
Every day.
That's a symbolic thing that is very meaningful for his fellow officers, for us, for his family, to know that he's still here with us and he's helping us through this case.
The prosecutor filed the request for life in prison without the possibility of parole if convicted. The death penalty also remains an option. A judge entered a not guilty plea on Johnson's behalf. And still to come here tonight, how you can cast your vote for the winning Kentucky Derby Festival burger. But first, parishes coming together. We have a closer look at the first Friday during Lent. And then we're taking a look back at last night's storms, the major tornado touching down in Bloomington. All those stories coming up next on the Night Team.
Out the door tomorrow morning, going to be pretty chilly, especially during the morning hours, but in general, pretty chilly day for your Saturday. Even colder for Sunday, though. The details coming up in a few minutes. Here's a look at your Kentucky Lottery jackpot numbers. Mega Millions sitting at $416 million right now. Powerball, $190 million.
The Kentucky Lottery, funding education for over 1 million Kentucky students.